James, I got a kind of a closing question for you.
Well, should we do the digital gulag first? Because I don't
Sure, yeah,
go
go
it's
ahead,
important. Because people need to understand digital gulags.
Yes.
Because people don't understand gulags. Because people are really well educated in this country on Nazis. So they know all about concentration camps. They know about labor and death camps. What they don't know a lot about is gulags, because we have red-washed education that doesn't tell anybody the truth about communism. So a lot of people think, oh, gulag, that's Russian for concentration camp. That's what Hitler had. No, it's not. Gulags were re-education camps. Gulags put people into labor because they were supposed to teach people that labor was, the pathway for the revolution, to make them into proletarians who make, according to Marxist theology. I want to point out just tangentially that where you see Arbeit macht frei, which is, by the way, you could say that is the religious credo of communism, work makes free. You see that put above the gates of Dachau and Auschwitz.
Right.
The Nazis were mocking the Jews, who they believed were all communists. Oh, you believe that work makes you free? We're going to free you from your bodies by making you work. Mm-hmm. That's the sadistic view. So the Nazis didn't believe Arbeit macht frei. They were mocking the Jews, who they all believe were communists. But that is a communist religion point. Work, or as they say today, the work makes you free. You set yourself free as humanity by becoming social man, by reaching that high level. So the Gulag is meant to be a re-education camp. So they sent people off and they forced them to do labor. And if they could be made into proletarians, then they actually get to leave the Gulag and go be stuck in some factory or some farm or some bullshit that the communists worked them, basically to death anyway in. But the Gulag wasn't necessarily, it's not a concentration camp. It's a re-education camp. People who were not re-educatable got shot into mass graves or whatever else, or stuck into hospitals where they did grotesque experiments, all kinds of crazy shit. Not good. But some people are going to get carted off to prison if they win, but most people won't, because they're going to have what I would say the right phrasing. It's not my phrase, is digital gulags, which is digital re-education. I've seen stuff like this. I've been to China a number of times. I've seen stuff like this in China with their social credit system. So look at what's actually going, because to really make this case, I want to make this not science fiction. I want to tie this to shit that's really gone on in the world. So you can see over my shoulder, this shoulder, there we go. I can't twist. Australia on my map. I knew I could get there. It's a mirror image, though. Yeah. You got Australia. We see stuff that's been going on in Australia for a while with their lockdown, and this was in other countries too, but it was very famous in Australia. You couldn't go more than however far away from your home, 5 kilometers or whatever, without clear justification for why you were doing it. And they would pull you over and check, and people actually got arrested and fined for being too far away from their houses. If you were out at all, I know Australians who were checking their mail, and police would ask them why they were outside. They could delimit. This is real. They already did this somewhere with lower technology. Remember, your device has a GPS in it. And you say, well, I just won't have mine. Yeah, right. Every hour you aren't responding to their little prompts, your social credit goes down, and it gets worse for you until they eventually show up and lock you up or fine you into complete poverty. But you can go 5 kilometers from your house because you're at this score. You can go however far away you want because you're at that score. You can go no more than 100 meters from your house because your score is really low. That's not good. They can isolate you from other people. Social distancing has been a thing. Well, my GPS detects your GPS. We're within however many meters or feet or whatever. It'll probably be meters, because in communism we all use the metric system. That was a joke. The metric system is actually pretty good. But we, as a former physicist, we're too close together. So my bad social credit score is rubbing off on you. In China, they literally now have alerts that pop up if you get physically too close to people with too much debt. So there's a debtor near you, and maybe it identifies who they are, so you can bully them or whatever. Social distancing.
And now imagine the racism that comes with that, and all the ugly, just gross, the striation of society, and the accusations, and all of think of vaccine, the way people behaved about vaccines, but on 10.
Yeah.
And constantly.
So, to that point, in China, you actually can gain social credit by engaging in community activity that helps other people raise their social credit. So imagine I'm married, and I'm married to somebody who has a far higher social credit score than I do. So I have like I don't know what the numbers would be, but let's imagine like kind of like real social credit scores or like real actual financial credit scores. Like my wife's got like a 750. I've got like a 400 or something, right? So her social credit goes down.
A 400 would never marry a 750, and I already know this. It's me. We're imagining it, but go ahead.
It's just a thing. Imagine, well, she hasn't done anything to offend the social justice gods except be married to me, and I clearly have. So imagine that's the dichotomy there. Yeah. There's a huge split in it doesn't even have to be big. Well, her social credit goes down, and thus she gets limitations put on her life big time just for being in the proximity of me, sharing the same house. Unless she's bullying me into the right views. That's going to put some stress on the old relationship. But of course, they don't want families anyway. So you can see how these kind of things are going to play out. So the digital gulag is going to be a situation you won't be able to buy things, except maybe you'll go to the grocery store. You can only go on one day a week in a certain range of a small number of hours. You can only buy certain products. Oh, you like meat? You can't buy meat because your social credit score is too damn low. You like Cheez-Its? You can't buy Cheez-Its because those are a treat, and you can only have those if your social credit score is above a certain deal or whatever. They can control and make your life a living hell. And how can you get out of it? Well, you go on social media and talk about how great the government is. You go on social media and talk about, I know that's the libertarian, like, and you go on and talk about how great critical race theory is. You go on and do this, you bully somebody into adopting these views, or you watch a propaganda video. That's a thing in China. Like, you can't buy anything right now. Go watch some videos of Xi Jinping talking about some bullshit, and your social credit score goes up, and now you can get a train ticket to go home.
And they can make your life if you're watching too, because they're going to see if your eyes are on the screen. You can't just turn it on and walk away.
That's correct. And not only that, they will
do it with boobies now.
Yep. And then even worse, they've already introduced. They talked about it at where? The World Economic Forum. This cool pill you can take that contains a little transmitting nanobot or whatever the hell it is that can tell it transmits. They give you a pill to take. Who the fuck knows what's in that pill? Maybe it's opium. Maybe it's something that is psychotic. Maybe it's LSD. Maybe who knows what's in that pill? But they tell you have to take this pill, and it has a little transmitting robot in it. And it knows if you took it. You can't flush it down the toilet. It knows if you took it. So they can force you to take any pharmaceutical they want. They can make your life an absolute hell until you play ball with them. And that's the digital gulag. People are like, I'll see you in the gulag. No, you won't, asshole. The gulag is going to be in your house, trapped, alone, completely estranged from everything but propaganda until you play ball. You will not make friends.
People that are coming to knock on your door are people that you don't want there.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, you're right. Like, everyone still has a 20th century view of how everything will transpire, but it's not going to be that way. It's going to be social and credit enforcement that makes you comply or be that's what's so similar to Brave New World. It's like,
well,
go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead and finish your thought about Brave New World. I'll tell you about when I went to China last time.
Yeah, well, Brave New World, in the end, the guy I forget the name. It's been 12 years since I read the book, but the main character decides he wants to be like the savage, and everyone is like, fine, like, be irrelevant. You have to go move away. Like, you can't be part of society unless you conform to everything they want to do. You have to go live in the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
the jungle
really contains major.
That's where I'm going, baby.
I think what we'll see.
I got a room for you.
Yeah,
it'll be very Brave New World at the ground level and very 1984 at the geopolitical world or level. But so last time I went to China, and this is where I was like, oh shit, this can get weird. And I didn't have any bad experiences. I don't want to give you that impression.
What year was this, by the way?
This was in 2019.
Okay.
In early 2019, so before Koof. And so I went to China.
James brought it back.
Yeah.
I might have, actually. I got some fucking awful coronavirus while I was in China in March of 2019.
That's just from breathing. That's just from breathing the air there.
And the symptoms were weirdly similar to the OG Koof. And allegedly it didn't exist yet. If it was leaked from a lab in either November or August or whatever that year, it was not there. But it's like, I've had doctors tell me, it's like, it sounds like you had the closest wild precursor to whatever COVID is that there was. And it's like, I was sick for like 2.5 weeks, coughing up blood.
Were you eating bats? Is that what it was? You're eating bats?
I ate 0 bats. I did get straight on a 777 with that though. So like, here we go. Anyway,
zero.
Oh my God, I was coughing like it was so bad.
You bastard, Lindsay.
But no, I've been to China every year since up from 2014 to 2019. Okay, so I haven't been back since the COVID. I probably can't go back now because I've like criticized them and they're not happy about that shit. And so
I tell you what, if you went back, that would be ballsy as hell.
Oh, I know. I'd end up below standing
you
room
might be able to go
back,
but you wouldn't be coming back from there.
Well, actually, you'll notice that it's not that bad. What actually happens is they just fuck with you and make your life miserable when you try to leave and while you're there. This digital gulag stuff. But the 2014 through 18. Nothing weird that freaked me out. It's just China. It's authoritarian. It is what it is. Nothing freaked me out really, right? They hassle you. There's some racism, blah, blah, blah. 2019, I go over there. I get off the plane. I've been there a bunch of times now. Don't think anything of it. Walk down the hallway at the airport. And then before you get to the immigration area, there's these machines. And they did not swab my butthole. They're the machines. They scanned my retinas. They took pictures of my irises. They took my fingerprints on every finger. They took my handprint on both hands. They took high-resolution photograph of me, and they printed out. If I had my passport in the room, I'd show you. It's all faded now. They gave me a little piece of paper that's all in Chinese and it says "OK" in big letters in the middle of it. And you have to have that to go through immigration. And so then you go through immigration, and there's the camera, and they're looking at your passport, and they look at your thing. So then I have all this data on me. And then I come through, and I get through no problem. I get into the country. So then we go to different places in China, and it's like they have to scan your passport for you to be allowed to do whatever it is. There, that picture pops up, like on the screen. Like they know who I am. Everywhere they're tracking me. You can't check into a hotel without giving them your passport. Like you don't stand there and they do something. No, you give them your passport, and some half hour later they bring it back to you. And it's like, okay, you can't change money. You can't do anything. But then that's like already enough. Like they've got all this weird data they took of me. But then what really freaked me out, and this had very little to do with me. We're like not at Starbucks. We're just at like this tea shop or whatever, right? Starbucks didn't have this problem, but it was an increasing trajectory, 17, 18, 19. It wasn't really before that, of places like the list of places we could not go because they don't take cash was increasing. And we did this tea shop, and we actually had to give our cash to this one guy who had the app, who could pay for it. So he goes in there and he's buying there's a big group of us, so he's buying 26 cups of tea and all these sandwiches. It's like this crazy order, and it's because he has to pay by scanning his QR code on his phone, and we can't pay. We literally couldn't pay there, and that's when you realize that if I had a black mark on that QR code. If my vaccine passport turned red that day, I wouldn't be able to buy something here. And that's when it started to tumble into place. Like there's no other way to pay. There's no other way to engage with this function in society. Whereas in the United States, I think if you offer legal tender, they have to accept it. Yep. Which I was just, by the way, at the airport in Houston on my way back from Austin. And I went to the Starbucks to get a cup of coffee, and the chick was like, by the way, we're not taking cash today. And I was sitting there thinking, that's illegal. But it's like, am I gonna argue with this person? Like, right, I was gonna pay with a credit card anyway. What the fuck do I care? But that's actually illegal. Like, if you offer legal tender, because it used to be the big joke, I'm gonna pay him pennies. I offered legal tender, you have to take it, which is a thing, right? It's a troll move, but it's like. There was the first time in America where I felt that lurch toward what? That's China shit. We don't take cash here. That's the only place I've experienced that in my entire life is China. And then I know that the goal is to make us more like China. So I got freaked out even by that low level stuff. But at that point, it was literally about a third of places. We can't go there. We can't go there either. Yeah, I know you like to go there, but you can't pay.
That's exactly
cash. You can't use a credit card. You have to pay by an app that's hooked straight to the Bank of China or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly what Kim Iverson said last night, is that the goal is to make the United States more like China. I mean, it's kind of hard to refute when you look at the trajectory.
It's even scarier when you realize that Kissinger's point in making China what it is today by opening their markets was to create the enemy that we would have to become more like. So we could justify becoming more like China by making China that way first.
Mm-hmm. So Lindsay,
you're on a libertarian podcast trashing Kissinger in a new and creative way, and I thought that libertarians had exhausted all of the means to trash Henry Kissinger. Thank you,
metal
James
now,
Lindsay.
Phil.
So James Lindsay, purely.